Let me tell you guys a secret right now. The way Momoshiki is going to lose is not through power, it's not through karma, it's not going to be through some last minute, last second sacrifice. It's not even going to be some super convenient plot armor. He's going to lose because he doesn't truly understand the story he's inside of. He doesn't truly understand the boy that he is inside of. Because Momoshiki is acting like he is the main character. And by what I mean by that, he is acting like he is the Peach Boy. But the problem is that he's not the Peach Boy in this scenario. As longtime viewers of the channel know, Momoshiki's character is inspired by Momotaro, the Peach Boy. However, Momoshiki has been written as not as the Peach Boy, but instead as the demon who eats the peach. And Boruto has the chance right now to pull the biggest prank in Naruto history. One that so perfectly, poetically lines up in a full circle moment that it can be traced all the way back to Naruto chapter 700. And that's the thing that Momoshiki is missing when it comes to his downfall. Because if you think that Boruto stopped being a prankster, you haven't really paid attention. Join me in today's newest Naruto Explained video where your OBC, your original Boruto chief, takes a deep dive into why Boruto's initial introduction back in Naruto chapter 700, released in 2014, and the Momotaro the Peach Boy story that Kishimoto used to create the Momoshiki character gives us our biggest clue as to how Boruto will finally free himself of Momoshiki once and for all. Also, by the time you guys are seeing this, we should be on spoiler watch. The chapter drops on the 20th this month, so the sneak peek should already be out if you're seeing this after the 14th, which means the full spoilers should be out any day now. Reminder, sneak peek, then the V-Jump magazine cover leaks out in high quality, then the full chapter leaks are usually 24 to 48 hours after that, unless they would fall on the weekend, at which case that would be the following Monday. No, that's old information for most of you guys, but we do have new people over here on the channel, so I do want to clarify. So let's just start right away with the peach that started it all, the inspiration. So to understand Boruto's story, you have to go backwards, not to Naruto, not to Minato, but instead to the folklore. One of the most famous Japanese legends of all time, Momotaro the Peach Boy. That is up there with, like, for my American viewers, if you're an American child, you probably heard the story of John Henry, that guy that worked on the railroad against the machine, or you've heard the stories about the lumberjacks if you're down in the South or something like that. So with Momotaro, over in the Japanese story, he is born from a peach that is floating down a river. The peach is not consumed, but instead it gives life. The boy ends up growing up. He gathers allies, and he ends up defeating the demons that terrorize the land that raised him. But here's a key that people overlook. Momotaro, in those stories, he didn't win because he was the strongest. Far from it. He wins because he was chosen, he was guided, he was crafty, and he was also aligned with destiny to a degree. But more important than anything else, he was a crafty person. Now, I want you to compare that to Momoshiki. His name invokes that peach, but his relationship to a peach, it can't be any more different. Momoshiki doesn't come from a peach. He harvested. The chakra fruit, as we see it, looks like a peach. Momoshiki wants to consume the peach. He wants to drain the world dry for it. Where Momotaro was born by a blessing of nature, Momoshiki is presented as a curse that devours blessings of nature. That inversion was something very deliberate and is one of the more brilliant things that Kishimoto has done with all the characters he created. It's one of the reasons why Naruto Boruto the movie, even though I have issues with it, from a strictly writing perspective, I appreciate a lot of what Kishimoto did in there, because there's a lot of sub story that has found itself into that story when you understand Momoshiki and Kenshiki's characters. Now, this also brings me to some of the stuff that was built into both the Naruto Boruto the movie written by Kishimoto, as well as what we've seen in Boruto Naruto Next Generations and in Boruto 2 Blue Vortex, which is that Momoshiki, as a typical Otsutsuki, has a fatal misreading of power. Momoshiki believes that power exists to be taken and to be transferred. That is the core of Otsutsuki ideology. Planets, they're merely farms. The life on the planets, they're just fertilizer. Chakra is to be used for a chakra fruit. It belongs to the Otsutsuki clan. Even Shinjutsu, divine techniques, they are treated as tools of dominance, whereas we see chakra used by human beings. Chakra is used for ninjutsu. Hagoromo wanted chakra to be used for ninshu, to be used to connect people. Momoshiki knows knowledge of all Shinjutsu, but knowledge does not equal wisdom. You can be knowledgeable about something, and you can also not be wise about something. Those are two different things. I want to repeat that. You can be knowledgeable about something and not be in possession of wisdom when it comes to it. Folklore, in a lot of the stories, especially in Eastern folklore, they punish characters who confuse these two things. In Shinto myths or in folklores, even in Buddhism, demons almost always lose for the same reason. They believe that consumption equals control. They believe if they eat something, they own it. Momoshiki believes that when he takes Boruto's body, he inherits everything inside of it. And that's how it's always worked with the Karma Seal. The Otsutsuki, they place a Karma on a vessel. They gain the vessel's body. They gain everything that the vessel had that updated itself. And the Otsutsuki is reborn. And that belief is exactly how Boruto has the tools needed to take down Momoshiki in the end. Boruto is basically the figurative peach boy that Momoshiki never saw coming. And that's where the irony hits. Boruto was never meant to be a stoic chosen one, despite how we have some dumbasses that frame him like that on social media. From the very beginning, Boruto was introduced as a prankster, much like his father. When we first meet him in Naruto chapter 700, it's important to remember what it is he's doing. He's defacing the Hokage monument. He's talking back. He has a tendency to show off. And obviously that should remind you to Naruto Uzumaki, the kid who used to use pranks to get attentions, test boundaries, undermine authority. Naruto's pranks, they weren't just jokes. They were disruptions. They exposed cracks in rigid systems depending on what pranks it was that he did. Boruto inherited that instinct, and he did a lot of that for the same reasons. He wanted attention. Naruto wanted attention and acknowledgement from everybody. Boruto wanted it from his father. But the difference here is something that should be looked at a lot closer. Boruto's a lot smarter. That academy student Boruto was basically what happens if you have Minato and Minato has a prankster personality inside of him. Naruto is somebody that when you look at how he kind of did the pranks, those pranks were more so targeted at authority and more so you could look at them from a outside perspective. Boruto is that prank that you don't see coming, and then once it hits, you go, Jesus Christ, how'd he do this? And when you get into Boruto 2 Blue Vortex, Boruto, even though he has been super stoic and emotionless for really good reasons because of everything he's been through, but with Boruto as a character, we've seen glimpses of the fact that that happy-go-lucky child's still there. He's just been traumatized. So Boruto right now is no longer bound. He's no longer loud. He's no longer reckless. He's no longer obvious. And that's a good thing, because at the end of the day, that prankster's still not gone. He's still there. He's just evolved. He's been forced to grow up a lot sooner than any child should have had to grow up. But that ability to use that genius level intellect and think outside the box, it has allowed Boruto to make some very overpowered jutsu like the Rasengan Uzehiko. And when you really think about it, what is a prank at its heart? A prank is nothing more than a misdirection. It's a expectation subversion. It's letting someone think that they're winning until they realize that the rules have changed or that they were never in control. Momoshiki believes that Boruto is working with him, and that Boruto's only primary goal is like, hey, I'll have Kawaki kill me when I give Momoshiki my body. Momoshiki's also somebody that believes that all power is transferable. But when you look at Boruto's interactions with Momoshiki, when Momoshiki calls out the fact that, hey, you're trying to use Kawaki to kill me, that way you can save your friends, etc. That's not going to happen. I'm going to kill Kawaki. Notice Boruto is silent. Boruto is very much in control of his emotions, does not overplay his hand at that point. He just lets Momoshiki think that he's read him correctly. And that's the prank right there. Their thoughts are crossing over, but when you get into Buddhist principles and everything, there are ways for someone like Boruto to act without having a clear thought of mind. It's basically acting off of instinct. The thoughts would not cross over. That's why you've heard me mention stuff with characters like Shikamaru, where there's a zen-like state that some of those characters go into. That's part of why. And it kind of brings me to why I think that Shinjutsu may not be a weapon, but more so it could be used as a trap. So when we look at how Shinjutsu has been described to us, it's overpowered, and it's initially described as affecting matter. Shibai's techniques were able to cause rainstorms, shake the planet, tornadoes, etc. But we also know that Shinjutsu can affect concepts themselves: authority, inheritance, control, identity. Omnipotence quite literally turns desires into reality. Momoshiki is somebody that views concepts like Shinjutsu as being tools to dominate reality because he always thinks like an Otsutsuki. But Boruto, because of his upbringing, because he is very much human, because he thinks so much outside the box, the idea of Boruto finding a way, much like how Momotaro did in those stories, to use a crafty redirection that Momoshiki, who also looks like a ogre in those stories, Boruto finding a way to redefine possession itself and get the drop on Momoshiki, that is something we do have to look at. It could be something as simple as letting him in. And that changes what taking over truly means. In folklores, one thing that you see very commonly is that there are times where gifts, they are poison, not because they kill you, but because they bind you to rules that you don't understand. Whether it be intentionally or unintentionally, Momoshiki gifted Boruto with a second life and there was an unintentional poison. Their consciousness began to merge together. Momoshiki also knew that the time was coming where he could take over Boruto's body. That's why he was waiting for the omnipotent stuff to happen. Now it is time for Boruto to turn the tables on Momoshiki. Momoshiki is looking at Boruto's body as a gift for helping Boruto destroy Jura, when in reality Boruto could quite literally be getting positioned as being the peach that Momoshiki was never meant to eat. I want you to think about this ripening here. And I'm using ripening for a very vivid reason. I want you to think about a peach that is ripening. Momoshiki sees Boruto as that peach. He sees him as a harvest that he could get his hands on. But in folklore, peaches are not always food. They're symbols of rebirth, fate, and selection. Momotaro isn't strong because he eats the peach. He's strong because the peach chose him in the story. He was born from the peach. What if Boruto is able to use Shinjutsu that functions in the same way? A Shinjutsu that rejects ownership through greed. So when Momoshiki takes Boruto's body, he doesn't gain control. Instead, he triggers the trap that Momoshiki would never see coming. Momoshiki cannot conceive a power that punishes consumption, that punishes the wicked. And yet, when we look at Boruto, the hints have already been there. How did he describe Uzuhiko when he made it? He described Uzuhiko as the planet giving a gift to those who want to destroy it. Should be in chapter 3 when he describes it like that to Code. Now go back to Momoshiki. Boruto's body is that gift as a part of their deal. Momoshiki has never lived in a world where power was earned through cooperation, through trust, or through restraint. To him, eating was always winning. Eating a chakra fruit, gaining a power-up. Eating the chakra pills, gaining a power-up. Taking was authority. Survival, it justified everything. That worldview, that's what makes him predictable. And pranks only work on predictable people. And Boruto understands something that Momoshiki never will. The most effective trick is letting someone believe they've already won. Boruto is a prankster, and to take it a step further, Boruto is the child of the kid who once had the nine-tailed fox. What are foxes in Japanese folklores? They are tricksters. Boruto is the son of one of the greatest tricksters in the Naruto universe. That's a full circle when you really think about it. If Boruto is able to trick Momoshiki and that ends up being the downfall for Momoshiki, it comes full circle. Boruto began his story in 2014, defacing monuments, mocking inherited authority, questioning legacies. Now, he might be preparing to undermine the ultimate inherited legacy and authority itself, that of the Otsutsuki clan. Naruto pranked the village to be seen. Boruto's now in a position where he might be pranking a god in order to survive. Same spirit, just on a different scale. When Momoshiki does finally take Boruto's body, it won't be triumph. Instead, it'll be the punchline he doesn't see coming. In Folklore, demons don't usually die dramatically. They lose everything because they misunderstand the rules. They eat something sacred. They cross a boundary. They claim what wasn't ever meant for them. Momoshiki believes that the peach always rewards the eater, but history shows otherwise. The peach always rewards the chosen. And Momoshiki was never the chosen. It was always Boruto. And that's the ultimate Boruto move when you think about it, because if Momoshiki fails, it won't be because Boruto overpowers him. It'll be because Boruto outplayed him, outthought him. Because the loud kid who once painted dork over the name of the second Hokage, quite literally, look up the translations, learned how to prank gods. And by the time that happens, when Momoshiki realizes, he won't be defeated by strength, he'll be defeated by the oldest trick in the book, which is underestimating a certain blonde-haired, blue-eyed character. Take your pick, Naruto or Boruto. Obviously, if you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing, clicking on the left to check out more Naruto Explained videos, or clicking on the right, check out videos from other two anime channels where I talk about non-Naruto anime and manga.